one day we were I was the youth pastor of a church in the United States, and we were designated, there's a welcome room. All our first-time guests go to that welcome room, and they give them a free mug and, welcome, so glad you're here. The pastor that was supposed to do it got sick, and they had to go home. So they asked Carmi and I, my wife Carmi and I, to go over there, and so we did. And at that moment, we were praying just that morning, God, where do you want us to go? Where do you want to show us a sign? And there was a lady from Budapest that walked in, and she was visiting her daughter there. And now that daughter and her husband live here in Hungary and attend our church. But it was one of those signs where God was just saying, I think you should look at that. Eventually, the Hungarian Pentecostal Church invited us to come and to be here. And so we said, yes, let's go. And we've been happy ever since.
Hello, welcome to the Pentecostal Podcast. Here I have my guest, David Buckley. Welcome.
Well, thank you so much. It's good to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure that you're here, especially that I know you for many, many years.
Yes. Not too many.
No. But I haven't seen you for ages, so it's really my pleasure
It's good to see you again, too.
Yes. So please tell us, what do you do now in Hungary? What's your ministry for the moment?
I am a Assemblies of God missionary here. And my wife and I have been here in Hungary since 1999. And we've done many things in the country, but recently we have planted an international church in the 11th district of Budapest.
Tell me about it. Riverside Church, right?
Riverside Church Budapest is planted about 10 years ago in this September. Will be 10 years, and we have services twice on Sunday at 9:30 and 11, and we minister to about 40 different nations that come into the place, and we have about 300 people that attend on a Sunday morning just to worship the Lord and to fellowship and have communion with one another. And it's just a great time, and we're excited what God is doing.
Wow, awesome. And I have just heard that you started a Spanish and a Hungarian service as well.
Yes, we have a large group of Spanish speakers in Budapest. And so we decided to have a life group started off, and that life group, that small group grew to a point where it split into two. So now we have two of them, and we decided to have a service from that one. So it's our third service, basically, and that meets on the second Sunday of every month, and we run about 40 to 45 people in that area. And then we started a Hungarian service.
Great.
There's not too many Pünkösdi Egyház churches on the Buddha side. So we thought, well, you know what, we need to plant one, and it's our heart to minister to the Hungarians as much as to anyone else. And so we planted a church, and it just started off in the first meeting that we had about 33 people.
Wow.
So we're excited about what God is doing. It's fun too. It's fun doing that kind of stuff.
That's great. Can we just go back in time a little bit? So
how far back?
just like when did you receive your call, or when did you hear? When did you hear that the Lord says that you got to come to Hungary before 1999? I guess.
So you're going way back.
Yes.
So when I was 15 years old, I was at a service, and I felt the Lord telling us to go to Hungary, or actually go to Europe to be a missionary. But I didn't know where, don't know how. But at 15, I knew that God was calling me into missions. And so I said, okay, Lord. And then later on, my wife, who is at the age of 15, but we're not the same age of 15 at the same time, but she received a call to go to Europe and to work with Europeans. And so when we married each other, we said that missions was a very important part of our lives. And so we started seeking the Lord, and some odd things happened in our lives when we started to seek the Lord. One day we were I was the youth pastor of a church in the United States, and we were designated, there's a welcome room. All our first-time guests go to that welcome room, and they give them a free mug and, welcome, so glad you're here. The pastor that was supposed to do it got sick, and they had to go home. So they asked Carmi and I, my wife Carmi and I, to go over there, and so we did. And at that moment, we were praying just that morning, God, where do you want us to go? Where do you want to show us a sign? And there was a lady from Budapest English that walked in, and she was visiting her daughter there. And now that daughter and her husband live here in Hungary and attend our church. But it was one of those signs where God was just saying, I think you should look at that. Eventually, the Hungarian Pentecostal Church invited us to come and to be here. And so we said, yes, let's go. And we've been happy ever since.
And what have you been doing here before you started the Riverside Church?
We actually did university ministry. We started a thing called Students for Christ. We didn't start that part, but we started one here in Hungary. And it's sort of where university students come together and do Bible studies with one another and to see about how to know the Lord and get a deeper walk with God. And we had different campuses across the university, or with the different universities across Hungary. The highest we ever got was 7 campuses. So there were 7 different small groups, and there were, I think, 3 of them here in Budapest. And so we lived in Pécs at the time. Beautiful, beautiful Pécs, lovely Pécs, great people down there. And we moved up to Budapest and to help with that ministry. And then ever since then eventually we turned it over to the national church. So, yeah.
So
and then we started the international church. So
exactly. And how can you share a little bit more about it? That how was the Lord working in your hearts to start an international church?
We had a time where we were back in the United States raising funds. And my boss's boss, the boss over all of Europe, called me up and said, hey, could you come to work with us in Springfield, Missouri at the headquarters? And we said yes. And so we did that for 4 years. And then we decided to come back to Hungary. And our kids were younger. We have 2 kids. We have a son and a daughter. And they were younger at that time. So we knew that if we're going to go now so they can grow up in Hungary and learn to adapt here. And so we actually moved back, and we had the intent to do some other ministry, but the Hungarian leadership said, could you please think about starting an English-speaking church? And so we started a Bible study, and that grew into an international church after that. We were over at the Mom Cultural Center, and we started there, and we used to set up every Sunday. And then it was really hard to do that because it's up, tear down, a lot of work. And then we started doing Sunday morning services again at the same place. But eventually we outgrew the one room, then moved into another room, then we rented 2 rooms, and then we rented 3 rooms. And then we said, we got to move to another place. And so we actually moved out of the building into the place we're at right now. So it was wonderful. And we felt like, we got the blessing of the church here. And see, our job is just to help the Hungarian church, to help the Hungarians know who Jesus Christ is. And so that's what we want to do.
Oh, that's great. Actually, this leads to my next question, that what are your goals or what are your purposes here with your ministry?
Well, our job is to help the Hungarian church as much as possible. We want to help the international community and the Hungarian community. And so we have been, our goal is to continue to pastor the church there and to make it grow and to help out with other churches in Hungary. I think one of the things that is unique is we have teams that come over from the United States, and we really don't, need them to help us per se, but we would like to help out with the different churches here in Hungary. And I think we had one team that came over, and they came over and they helped out in the city of Inota, and they wanted their church painted on the inside. And so they provided the paint. So we brought a team of Americans in, and they painted the whole place there, and they were very happy. We were very happy. We got a good Hungarian meal out of it, and to drive back up, and it was wonderful. So we would like to come and help out with different projects here in Hungary, and also help the church grow even more, because there's a lot of international people here that are looking to have fellowship and community with somebody. So that's what we want to do. And as they do that, hopefully they'll come to know who Jesus Christ is. So that's what we want.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's your plan with the Hungarian plantation, or what you just started?
Well, we're seeing it's a wait and see kind of a program. So we're waiting to see how it goes, and we were very encouraged on the first Sunday that we had the meeting there, and I was not expecting that many people. I didn't expect that many, and most of them were new to our church, and so we were very excited about that. We have a lot of people that are married. They're Hungarian. They're married to another nationality, and so their families are international, and so they come to our church in English. They may go to Hungarian school. They might speak both English and Hungarian at home, or maybe a third language, but they come to Riverside Church to say, well, we want to minister here. Sometimes we have Hungarian families that are totally Hungarian that come, and the husband will speak great English, or the wife will speak great English, but the spouse will not. And so it becomes, they are excited, but it becomes harder and harder for them because it becomes a lot of words and they don't understand. And so they end up going somewhere else. So we thought, listen, this is our chance to start a Hungarian church. We have the facility, we have the people, we have the resources. Let's do something and help people feel connected to one another, and then reach them out with the gospel message. So.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very fun.
Very exciting, actually. And I was just wondering that you've been here for around 25 years altogether.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes. So I can imagine that you have plenty of testimonies, but can you just name a few which is your favorite, or I don't know if you can say that, but which is close to your heart that would like to share with us?
We have a few of them that really hit our hearts. We have a family that came from South Africa, and they came up and they applied for citizenship here in Hungary. And they decided that they needed to they had no friends, no family here. And they decided that they wanted to go to somewhere that they talk in English. So they ended up coming to our church. And in the process of it all, they said they were Christians and stuff like that. But in the process of it all, they started to understand the gospel message. And they were there for over a year. And they ended up getting their citizenship here in Hungary. And they actually moved, they got a job outside the country here. But what they did was, when they left, they said, I thought I was a Christian. I'd grown to know the Lord like never before. And I thank you so much for Riverside Church. And that was exciting. And then another person, he's Hungarian. He never grew up in the church. And he comes to our church, and he's, he doesn't know much about what to do, what to say. And so he comes in, and him and his wife, and they have 2 kids, and they started attending, and they became not only good members, they were both great members, great participators in the services and stuff like that. And they grew immensely in the Lord. So we're excited about helping people come to know Christ. And, we've had people who are from Pakistan. We have people that are atheists at one time. We have people from different denominations altogether. We have people that do not speak English that attend our church.
Oh.
They just want to be with somebody. We have people that are different, ideas and faiths, and there's we have Africans and South Americans and North Americans and people from Asia and the EU and Hungary, and they all come together, and it's an amazing sight to see a crowded room worshiping the Lord and singing songs together. It is just, to me, it's a bit of heaven. That all these people come together and worship the Lord, and it's an awesome feeling to be in the room at the same time.
Yeah, I can imagine that. I really should go and and be with you. And what are your purposes, if I can put it that way, or what's the desire of your heart in the long term, or maybe in the
our desire is to be more established as a church. To start this, hopefully have these new churches, the Spanish and the Magyar church, come to bigger and better, to help plant other churches in the city of Budapest. There's a lot of people in Budapest. There's there's so much room in this place. I think in my district alone, 11th district, there's 50 evangelical churches. And that's just counting everybody. And District 11 is one of the most popular, has the most people in it than any other district. And it comes to be about 3,000 people per church. And so or more than that. I can't remember, but it's just crazy. I mean, we need more churches. We need to see more churches being planted. And I am excited to help out with that as much as possible and to help people come to know the Lord.
That's great. And what is Carmi doing? Is she working with you, or
she is? Yes, my wife Carmi is great. She's doing fine. She is working. She's the children's director of the church. She helps out with the leadership of the church. She does the women's ministry. We have an Inspire conference coming up, which is a large women's ministry conference or event that's happening in our church in November. She deals with that. So yeah, she's doing great. We're both enjoying life here. We live in a small apartment in the 11th district with our dog, no kids, and we're happy. And so we're excited about what God is doing. I mean, but life is good here in Hungary, especially when you're doing what God wants you to do, and when you do that, then it feels like things work together. And so work becomes play. And play becomes even a bigger play. So it's really fun.
Yeah, that's great. Okay. And what was your greatest shock when you arrived to Hungary? Like, it can be a cultural shock or anything.
I think one of the biggest shocks that I had was it was the language. The language is hard. One Hungarian told me it's a heavenly language because it takes forever to learn. I also know that seeing different ways of thinking than Americans do, and that was a cultural shock. But seeing baby carriages outside of stores with a baby in the baby carriage, and on a cold winter day, all bundled up, they're all safe and stuff like that. But that was something that was like, oh, okay, I didn't realize that you could do that. And so I don't think they do that so much nowadays, maybe outside the city, Budapest, but it was odd to see that, and just, yeah.
Yeah. And what's your favorite Hungarian food?
Oh my goodness. Let's go through the list. I think goulash leves is just wonderful. It just has everything in it that you would want. I mean, our kids love Hungarian food to this day. Our son went to Óvoda, and so we kind of tainted him. We kind of spoiled him because he went to Óvoda. He was the only American in his room, and so they had lunch together, and they would put out. And so he had this big bowl of soup every time. To this day, he loves soup. He just has. If there's something else, I can have soup that day. So
yeah, he learned that.
Yeah, he learned that for the Hungarians. So So it was. We just love being here in Hungary, and we're just everything that it wasn't. We feel called to the nation of Hungary. We don't feel called to do a particular ministry. And we feel called to Hungary to help the Hungarians. And that was our call. So if the Hungarian church needs help with cleaning bathrooms, then we'll get a team of clean bathrooms. If we have the Hungarian church that needs help with doing this or that, then we would do that. Because our goal and our heart desire is to see people come to know Christ. And the people here in Hungary are hungry for the Lord. And we're seeing a change in atmosphere here in Hungary. And people are coming to know the Lord left and right. And it's growing. And as long as we keep on working for him, then it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So.
Wow, this is great to hear, and I wish that God bless you very much, and that you could really save as many souls as possible for him.
You got to come over and visit Riverside Church Budapest.
Definitely, I will. Thank you so much, David, being available for us. It was the Pentecostal Podcast with David Buckley. Thank you so much for your attention.